I'd like to share a bracha of Mazel Tov to Gavi Pinsky and the Pinsky family for Gavi's bar mitzvah this week. I'd like to share a brief Dvar Torah on Parshat Shmini, this week's Parsha. In the beginning of the third Aliyah of Parshat Shmini, we conclude the inaugural korbanos that Aaron, the new Kohen Gadol, brought in the new Mishkan. And the Torah reports that after he offered all the sacrifices, Vatetzei eish milifnei Hashem, vatochal al hamizbeach es ha'olav es ha'chalavim, a fire from God came to consume all of the sacrifices, indicating that they were accepted by God. Vayira kol ha'am, vayironu vayiplu al pneihem, and the Jewish people were all in awe and they bowed to God, witnessing this amazing event that they saw. And this indicates that everything that came before was effective and successful. And what I'd like to do for just a moment is to look back and to see what occurred before that made this so successful. First and foremost, we just read a very long series of korbanos that Aaron and his sons brought. And this indicates that when we worship God and do avodah, service and worship to God in the correct way, we become worthy of being accepted by God and entering into the presence of God. The second thing that I'd like to focus on is that which occurred immediately before. Because after the very lengthy description of all the korbanos, we find that something else occurred before this finale. And that is, Vayisa Aharon es yadav el ha'am vayivarchem. That Aaron held up his hands and blessed the Jewish people. And then Vayavo Moshe v'Aharon vayetzu vayivarchu es ha'am. And then Moshe joins Aaron and blesses the Jewish people. And it is only then, apparently, that God accepts all of their korbanos. And I think this comes to tell us that it's not really enough to just worship God properly in order to become bonded with God. What we also need is the ability and the capacity to bless others and to show our desire that the best should fall to others and not only to ourselves. And it's only after this special Birchas Kohanim that God truly accepts all the initiating korbanos of the Jewish people. So ingredient number one is to worship properly. Ingredient number two is to show compassion, empathy, and concern for all those around us. And point number three that I like to focus on is this bracha that Aaron offered and Moshe offered to the Jewish people. Rashi says, what was this bracha? It was Birchas Kohanim, the bracha that the Kohanim were commanded to bless to the Jewish people, as the Torah tells us in Sefer, later on in the Torah, in Sefer Bamidbar. But the Ramban takes exception and suggests that this bracha preceded the command by God for Aaron and the Kohanim to bless the Jewish people. This bracha was the initiative, the personal initiative and idea of Aaron, who actually invented Birchas Kohanim even before Moshe, in the word as a messenger from God, commanded him to do so. Aaron invented the notion of Birchas Kohanim. And therefore he was joined, I believe, by Moshe, even though he wasn't a Kohen. Because this was not Birchas Kohanim. This was a spontaneous realization that they needed to bless the Jewish people. The Ramban says the same thing that Shlomo did when he initiated the Beis HaMikdash. And this third point is to say, according to the Ramban, that it's not enough to worship God in the way that he tells us to. And it's not enough to be compassionate and empathic in the way God tells us to. But it's important to internalize the messages of the Torah so much so that we will know to do it on our own, even when we're not instructed directly by God to do so. And I think that these three messages are critical for a bar mitzvah and exemplified by the Pinskys. Number one, taking your worship and your avodat Hashem seriously, consistently, davening and learning and fulfilling all the mitzvos the way that God instructs us. Number two, showing compassion to other people. It's not enough to just worship God, but to show concern for others in your community. And lastly, to internalize the messages of the Torah so that they will sprout forth from you as they have done in the past and continue to do so instinctively, intuitively, independently, even without a direct instruction from God. And bar mitzvah is not only a time to do the mitzvah, the command, but to do and to actualize all the values of the Torah. And my hope to Gavi is to continue to walk in this path and to be blessed by all the blessings of life and to actualize all these values that are demonstrated in your Parsha. Mazel Tov, good Shabbos.